factor to this, and there is a solution wherein by which the government has changed the X. It's the capex to the OPEX. Pradeep, right?
Yeah.
Actual funding which you require for capital investment has now been done away with, and you can actually offset expenses to income, which makes it, well, at least more mentally feasible, and the perception perhaps improve, and it also gives it some kind of incentive to go in for IT solutions.
Yeah, so you know, if you look at the price purchase parity, which is whatever now, 6 or 5 or whatever number you take. So therefore, for an equivalent SME between say India and the US, you need a price point which is 1/5 of what is available anywhere else. So you know, if I'm buying, let's say, an office suite for $20,000 versus $400, okay, there is a benefit which is different as far as an Indian SME is concerned. Now what is happening is that, you know, what I meant when I said that it's no longer going to be a capital expenditure, but it's going to be an operating expenditure is because everything is now possible for you to get it on a variable basis, right? And therefore you can, you know, you use an application, and depending upon what kind of a usage of the application that you're doing, you pay only for that. You go to an Alibaba or any of the other places which are available, and you create a storefront, and you end up paying only for what you are specifically
Besides,
doing.
even on the bank financing, which is a moot point, which Vinnie brought out, the companies themselves also finance. They give you installments, so you're able to at least ease your pressures.
Companies used to, as long as they could get back-to-back bank finance, but now that they have not been getting it, yes, that is an issue.
But if I would just connect the perception, I think, you know, the poor Indian user does get a bad name for being too price conscious. But I think Indians are very careful buyers, and in general are much more perceptive about value for money. And if you look at our industry, the IT industry, I don't think we've done a brilliant job of delivering value for money. We have overcharged, certainly at the enterprise level.
Not the customer not been unreasonable.
So the customer, particularly the SME here, is not being unfair when they want a different pricing. And like PG just said, if they're looking at a solution which is, let's say, a global solution coming from a company overseas, it sells for a certain dollar value over there. For an SME which has a dollar income, you move it here. The right price for this person to want is a fifth. Now that is seen as heavy negotiation. But this person is actually being very sensible in asking for the right price. And the whole issue about why are Indian companies not getting in and why is the price not good, I'll give you a simple example. Till 3 years ago, most of the big Indian IT service players were not interested in the domestic market. They were all overseas. So you could ask the question, why aren't they addressing it here? You ask Infosys today, their order book on the domestic market is larger than the order book in the global market. Everybody's focused locally. Why? Two reasons. The overseas market doesn't look very attractive at the moment. But the second piece is different. The second piece is the market here has begun to happen. So people know there's a big market, so they're willing to make an investment to get in, and they're seeing the results. So if you look at the SMEs, take Vinnie's numbers. 37% of computers were sold. He thinks it's going to 50. If you go back 5 years, maybe it was 10%. So will people read the numbers? Will people start to invest in those solutions? Absolutely.
Let's talk let's come back on the price factor because it tends to go either ways. Price is not only a function of value, price is not only a function of perception, price is also a function of transparency. And one issue which every buyer has right now is a lack of transparency. You have X amount of cost that's incurred when you purchase a particular product, but then subsequently you realize there's so many add-on costs. You don't have a particular function to suit that product which you give, so you've got to change that as well. At the end of it all, you realize that an entire business, perhaps a capex, is spent on IT solutions. So is that fair enough? Is that a huge impediment? And is that creating a bad perception for the user?
Actually, yes. I would say that you know, when you buy an IT investment, you make an IT investment, you don't only buy a hardware or a software, but it's full ecosystem of network, ISP, services, integration of all that, right? I think it's not as much of a matter of high price, but lack of awareness of actually the elements that go into building an IT infrastructure. So I think the missing piece in the story today, in my view, is the right consultant for the SME sector who could actually help them understand. See, I don't understand technology and IT is not for me, this is what I hear quite a few times, right? So there needs to be an organization or a consultant who can actually help SMEs interpret IT investment and understand. See, my experience is that, and it's been from the past 2 decades I'm in the industry, is that a well thought through IT investment will always give you a right ROI, right TCO, right? I mean, it eventually will pay back for itself, right? It's the understanding of that which somebody needs to help the organizations understand.
Sure, okay.
Can I quickly add on the price?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah. So that the elements which I was saying peculiar to solve for the SME about pricing, we have a simple model. If somebody buys a single user, he pays an X price, and if he buys a multi-user, how many other licenses he needs to use, he doesn't need to pay extra. Right. Point number 1. Point number 2, he buys a product, he doesn't need to pay for service. He calls the call center, he gets service. Point number 3, he needs an upgrade. In the last 15 years, we've charged about 4 times. So it's really not. So the comfort which we need to do design for this customer, from the innovation to go to market, each element needs to be kept in mind. I cannot take the same model of a large enterprise, downsize to just an entry-level price, and go with the same set of partners. So these elements, I'm going back to the point that if we need to address the SMEs, you need to take care of all these aspects and do it to be successful.
Is there a lack of synergy in what you're talking about?
Absolutely.
Of the entire industry?
Absolutely.
Synergy?
Absolutely. We are alone in this whole situation. It's just now that people are looking at this as an opportunity to do together. And if you don't do it together, you're not going to scale at the speed which you can currently.
Right. Okay, let's quickly talk. Yeah, sure.
Can I just
on a solution front, we'd like a solution as to the synergies or the mismatch between the client and the supplier. How can that be narrowed?
Yeah, so I'll just illustrate this by an example which Rajiv Karwal reminded me. Last time when this panel was there, I was moderating it, and one of the participants got up and he said that, look, I went in for, I think it was a Navision or something, so he bought that, and after he bought that,
You have his name? You send him to carry.
So he bought that, and then what happened was that after having bought whatever number of seats which were there, then it turned out that he had to upgrade his server, all right. So then he went in and upgraded the server, and then even then, he was not getting enough productivity, so then it turned out that he had to upgrade his network, and so he had to go in for network upgradation. When he went in for network upgradation, what happened on the client side was that he had to upgrade the clients also, because some of the clients were old technology, so he ended up doing that also. And then on top of that, now you need a consultant to help you out so that you can plan a 10-year strategy and invest all that money up front. So the total cost of ownership for a SME who needs a simple, straightforward solution, we have actually made it complicated for him.
Does that person still do business?
He is doing business. And by the way, he himself got into the entire thing.
He went on the other side.
Maybe he might have now become more of an IT expert business rather than a manufacturing.
The other side, right?
Actually, but I would like to add to that. This is the precise experience, right? Because a customer comes to the supplier, who must be a partner for one of the IT industries, with a fixed budget and say, this is what I have to spend, and you give me all that. So this approach is not a right approach, I agree, but this approach may be a result of that cap on the investment and then trying to fix what I want, and then I want everything.
So the customer is to blame?
No, I'm not saying that. I'm saying that the need here is to basically that partner, the guy who was implementing the solution, need to help customer understand the entire implications upfront, and then allow the customer to make a decision.
Okay, let me put it across this way. Do you think the fault lies with the client or the supplier? That the client is not able to assess or perceive the value which is given, or you're not able to assess what is valuable for him?
No, I think it would still, customer cannot be at fault. He needs to understand, he needs to be educated and counseled. I think the gap is there in that. So customer is not wrong. I'm not
I'd like to answer that question.